Welcome to the Cincy PostCast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends at the Empanadas Box. The Empanadas Box is a small, family-owned restaurant owned by natives of Buenos Aires, Argentina. They have Argentine-style empanadas with 22 globally inspired flavors available every single day. Looking for a suggestion? In October, they have the chicken pot pie empanada filled with braised chicken, onion, carrots, peas, and a creamy bechamel sauce. Just perfect for fall. Their empanadas are available for dine-in and carry-out, but the pro move here is actually to get a box of frozen empanadas to take home, and you can find the Empanadas Box in your favorite food delivery apps. Check them out online at theempanadasbox.com for more information, including catering options for lunches, parties, and more. And as a special offer to listeners to the podcast, they are offering 10% off at their Covington, Kentucky location if you mention the Post Cincy podcast at checkout. They're located at 212 West Pike Street in Covington, and I am very happy to report that the staff there are incredibly nice and the food is just fantastic. Thank you again to the Empanadas Box for sponsoring this episode of the Postcast. Oh, and we have a heck of an episode for you on this one. It was the regular season finale for FC Cincinnati. So in part one, we are talking that Atlanta United match, but more looking at that match and what it means projecting out into the playoffs. Are there anything to be worried about coming out of this match? Do we look into that Boupendza situation here? How worried are we? In part two, it is FC Cincinnati goalkeeper Evan Louro who comes onto the podcast to give us a classic vibes check. Evan has checked in a couple of times with us throughout the season, and we get into the nitty-gritty on some goalkeeping theory, since that's going to come up quite a bit in the playoffs. And in part three, it's a quick look at the playoff format, what FC Cincinnati's road to MLS Cup final looks like, and that's going to be your postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more are two gentlemen that are ready for the playoffs. We're done with the regular season, joined by the Chief, joined by Grayson. Chief, are we sad to see the season go, or are we excited to bring on the playoffs?
Sad to see the season go. It's a lot of fun this year. I mean, Supporters Shield. One came close to setting a home wins record this year.
Yeah.
We're flirting with the points record right up until the very end. This was an awesome season. I am sorry to see it go. This was about as good as it gets when it comes to being a fan of professional soccer in the United States of America.
Only a handful of cities have ever seen a better season. Grayson, is this the best season we will ever see of FC Cincinnati?
I hope not, because you never want to think that, things will never get better.
Right.
I think about that like in my personal life, right? Where it's like,
oh, we're getting dark and existential early in this episode. I like it.
Where it's like, as a man, right? There's like four things you can do, right? There's like your relationship, whether it's a marriage or whatever it is. There's your career. There's kids, maybe, if that's in the cards for you. And I guess there's like your garage stuff.
Yeah.
Your hobbies, like the thing that you become just like obsessed with, like the guy in Big Little Lies that has his train set.
Yes.
Us with our podcast.
It's like, yeah. Well, yeah, right. I'm getting there. So it's like, once you're married, right?
Yeah.
And you have like your long-term career job, right?
Yep. Check.
Like those two lives are effectively over.
Ooh.
Because you just know how they end. likely, or you hope, right?
Getting laid off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
In
wife
both
divorcing
cases.
your wife divorcing you for being a
Right.
podcast bro.
But it is like, okay, well, like, I guess like no more surprises here.
Right.
Right. Like
You hope.
I'm essentially staring down death in like 2 of my 4 lanes. You know? And so like basically what I'm getting to is like there's a lot riding on FC Cincinnati in this podcast.
we
I love
thankfully
you too, man.
yeah, we got this. We'll be okay.
Please share and retweet this episode link for Grayson's mental health sanity. We need to grow this listener base to at least my goal
15 people.
15 people.
Ooh,
And maybe if we make a deep run in MLS Cup, or when we make a deep run in MLS Cup,
there we go.
dare I say 24?
What? That's
Am I
a
being
lot.
greedy? That's a lot.
That's-
That is a lot.
That's a lot, but I like where your head's at. I'm just really glad we didn't put this pressure on Evan when he came on the pod. Evan, I don't have a lot going on in my life, man. I really need you guys to win this.
I need you guys to win this, Evan, and I need you to get me some more of your teammates as guests, because let me tell you, I'm starting to spiral.
I mean, it is funny to think, though. I to put a positive spin on the nihilism here from Grayson. It is possible to have a season that I think
it's
on
like fatalism.
fatalism. Oh, that's fair. It wasn't
Fatalism.
inherently negative, I guess, or it. Not that you could not do anything about it. No, like we could have a season with more silverware, but has like way more losses. Like an Open Cup win and a Champions Cup win and a 500 regular season and missing the playoffs. Very possible. Like is that a better season?
No, but
We'll find out.
What I always think about in these moments is like the Toronto Maple Leafs fans, the Maple Leaves fans.
Yeah.
They won a Stanley Cup in what, like 1960 something,
Yeah.
1950 something? And I'll bet the people as they walked out of that game were like, hell yeah,
Here we
we're going to
go.
win one next year. They're like, the dynasty is ours. The window is open. And then nothing. Or like the Buffalo Bills fans, where they're going to Super Bowl after Super Bowl, and they're like, surely one of these is going to be ours. And then, so there is, to a certain extent, there is a healthy fear sometimes that the future is very much not guaranteed. And it might be a minute until the next big season like this, where you do win Supporters Shield. I was at TQL Stadium early for various reasons unrelated to the podcast. And I came across and saw a couple of Atlanta United fans that were taking pictures with the Supporters Shield. And I was just chatting one of them up. And I mistakenly said, well, what are you guys doing here? You've won one of these already. I'm like, no, we actually haven't. We've only won MLS Cup. But this is the real trophy.
Oh.
And my heart grew 2 sizes bigger, much like the Grinch. But yeah, like you can be a great team in MLS. You can win MLS Cup. You can win the Open Cup. You can win the Leagues Cup. You don't always win Supporters Shield. Not every name is etched on that trophy, and it might be a minute. So savor this moment, because it might be a minute before it happens again.
Yeah. I didn't mean to start the pod on a negative note. I guess drawing Atlanta does that to you. But yeah, like I think back to like the Bengals Super Bowl run and everybody getting excited again. And, you know, we're only partway through this season, but like, yeah, man, like we got a young team. We're going to kill it. It's like, there's a real chance that was it. There might be 15 more years and an entirely different team making the Super Bowl before you see that again. Like, yeah.
So I got an uncomfortable question to ask Grayson. How much longer are you intending to do this podcast? have I signed up to a lifetime commitment? Like, is that?
Well, no, because like that's the thing is like your hobbies and whatever it is can like always be changing.
So
know?
you do this for a while.
It's not like your job and like being married are like bad, right? But and there could still be like plenty of, you know, and there will be plenty of like great experiences to come. but it's like these two things are in my obituary. You know what I mean?
Like you made your decision. It's like you're not out there looking for your wife. It's I've already found, or your husband or your significant other. I've met that person. That's an unknown that's off the table. When it comes to like your career, you know, there are endless possibilities in front of you when you first set foot in school, and you slowly whittle those away until you pick one that is kind of like your career. So that mystery is gone now. I guess the next great mystery will be, how did we get canceled and end this show?
Yeah, that's true.
On a similar note,
you know, maybe related to one of the signs at TQL this weekend.
Somebody shows up with a Jamaican flag and gets the whole Bailey band. You know, that's what'll happen. No, Grayson, I mean, you could open the door up and be like, you haven't met your mistress yet. See, so there's like spice you could throw in there.
I'm just gonna let that one linger right there for a second.
Don't say anything after that.
Especially if she's listening.
She's not listening. Oh, the mistress, maybe. The wife, definitely not. Yeah.
Oh my God. That actually reminds me of one of my all-time favorite SNL skits, and it's Meet Your Second Wife. And they have these guys out there that are currently married, and they get to meet their second wife. And it's 3 contestants, and they get progressively younger as the women come out, and it's really good. It's a good bit.
Also, anyway, up there with this same type of bit was and this one kills me every time, was the "What's my name?" bit.
Oh yeah, yes, same vibe. Yeah,
just an utter panic that I would ever end up on that show, because I'm absolutely horrible with names when it comes to faces.
Name one of the bridesmaids. Just name one of them.
Any one of them.
Well, speaking of bridesmaids, I don't know. Atlanta United 2, FC Cincinnati 2. I don't know why we went with the away team first there. That was very American of me. FC Cincinnati finishes the season with I'll say, hard-fought draw in this one. I don't think this match is worth necessarily diving into too much. There's certainly some moments in this game to draw out.
Atlanta certainly felt like it was worth diving into quite a bit.
And onto and around and on top of.
They were desperate to not lose, I guess. I don't know.
For some reason.
I don't know what their scenario was. Like, if they lost, would they have lost I don't know, man. Like a home field advantage?
Maybe they've got like Doctor Strange, and he's like, there's only one scenario that you win MLS Cup. I've looked at over 1 million, and there's only one.
So losing and winning, neither one would have changed the position they ended up in.
So they did that for fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Cool.
What did it cost? Your dignity, everything.
You know what it might have been? And we can sort out exactly which side this was pro or anti, but I assume in that they were doing a die-in for the situation in Israel and Palestine there. That maybe that's what it was. They were.
Yes, I found out how we get canceled and the show ends. I have the answer.
Hey man, just your classic die-in. That's what was happening there. Just flinging themselves to the field, refusing to participate.
You know what? If if you're making an assumption about what Kevin means by that, just assume it's whatever you support.
Yeah. That's it. That's what exactly right. That is the one I was thinking of. So yes.
What you were thinking, Kevin agrees with you on that point.
Nailed it. You knew me.
Wait, disavow, whatever that what you're thinking, disavow.
Wait, disavow our listeners.
Right. And if you just listen to that saying, wait, is he talking to me? Disavow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Also
no.
We're always talking to every single one
listener
of our listeners of our listener.
So that's what I assume Atlanta was doing. It was a weird game.
So can I talk big picture about this game before
I think we should exclusively talk big picture, so please.
So we're joking obviously about the dive-ins and the diners, dive-ins and dives.
That'd have been a much better joke to go with. So
I don't know. It was pretty forced anyway. So now, by my watch, there have now been three games that FCC has played with teams employing this style of cynical, anti-football, diving, milking every injury, time wasting, bunkering in. Atlanta played it for the majority of this game. New York played it a couple weeks ago, the midweek game that was the Shield ceremony game.
Yep.
Orlando played it a couple weeks prior to that.
The last three visitors? Is that what?
Not the last three. Then they crushed somebody in between.
Charlotte was in there.
Okay.
So three of the last four.
Okay.
All at home. And in each one of those, I would say that FC Cincinnati failed the eyeball test on how to deal with this particular style. Now, there's a caveat with all this, and that's that two of those three games were utterly meaningless. The results did not matter. The points were made up. The rules were barely followed. But even still, am I right to be worried that this team seems to really, really struggle with this play style? And we're staring down the barrel of seeing that from several of our playoff opponents that are our potential playoff opponents going forward.
It is a bummer. I do wonder, though, like, is anybody ever good at playing against this? I guess the only way to beat it, and maybe this is my amateur suggestion to the coaching staff of FC Cincinnati, is if a team starts off a game like this, like what I just will imagine New York Red Bull will do should they beat Charlotte as they're expected to. If they start off playing that way, FCC should immediately do the same thing and time waste, and just understand it will be a 15-minute game starting in the 75th minute, and do not play soccer. Just do not. Time waste the fuck out of the game. You are in the corner. You are getting yellows for your keepers in the 12th minute of the game. Refuse to play the game until it is 0-0, 75th minute, and then it's a 15-minute game, and then you turn it on. Because there's no other way to do this. It is the most aggravating thing in the entire world, and I don't think it's worth trying to play through. I think it's just worth conceding that 3/4 of that game will be useless. That's my suggestion.
I'm not sure like how you would run numbers on this, but we've come back from a lot of games. You know, came back 2-0 in Philadelphia, beat Philadelphia in Cincinnati when they were bunkering.
Yep.
Won a lot of 1-0 games. I think a lot of teams didn't want to play with the ball against us. We do have that like second half stat where we're like plus
26,
whatever.
27.
Yeah.
Plus 26, 27. I mean, it's probably a couple games old, but so I don't know what it currently sits at. But that does indicate, other than we're not great in the first half,
Fair,
that we are pretty good at forcing goals late and coming back when we're down. And teams are more likely to be bunkering when they're leading, especially in MLS, especially when they're playing FC Cincinnati. So there may be a little bit of recency bias in this narrative. Particularly given that the last 3 games there was nothing in the standings to play for. And then also, you know, this team has been shorthanded a lot over the course of the year and didn't have its best 11, you know, all of these games. Like the Red Bull, wasn't there like 8 rotations?
Yeah, there
against Red Bulls,
including keeper. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm concerned about it. I'm a little concerned about the form, although, bad form for this team over the last 4 games was 2 wins, a loss, and a tie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the loss was the one game where they were super heavily rotated. So I'm a little concerned about whether they lost some steam heading into the playoffs. I am concerned generally about their ability to play about their ability to control games and win games convincingly when all these teams are going to, at least all or most of these teams, except for maybe the Crew, are going to play bunkered and cynical. But I'm also thinking that it's probably overblown a little bit, just being fed by generalized anxiety about going into the playoffs. And these are not issues that are going to be unique to FC Cincinnati. And I keep reminding myself, every team that we're going to play played more or less until MLS Cup Finals. All the teams we're going to play in the Eastern Conference side of the bracket played more or less the same schedule. Mm-hmm. Probably, in most cases, a little weaker schedule over the last 34 games. And not one of them did even close to as well as we did over that stretch. So, they're still, by sample size, the best team in MLS.
Yeah.
Right. The issue is that I think that there's a difference between the teams. Like, we have broken down teams that have been playing defensively. That's happened all year. We've come back against teams that were playing defensive-minded games to try and keep themselves in a leading position. I think where this team is struggling are the profoundly cynical teams.
Yeah.
Not just the generally, we're sitting on a lead or we're playing, we don't want the ball. I'm talking like the Orlando, New York, and this game where it's massive injury, time wasting, anti-football, not just defensive football, anti-football. We are refusing to play the game. And yeah, I think a lot of it might just be generalized anxiety that I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, this team they're going to they have number 1 seed. They will play all but one of their playoff games away from or at TQL Stadium. We've never had a home game at TQL Stadium for the playoffs. That's kind of rad. Mm-hmm. And just, there's a weight of expectations now with this team where you are the number 1 seed. You are the favorite in every game that you're going to play from here on out. And I am nervous a little bit, and I am a little worried after watching this game on Saturday, that I don't know how this team is going to respond if they get into a playoff matchup, they find themselves trailing, and the team starts flopping around like dead fish that they're playing.
The one thing that gives me hope, the fact that they were the best team in the regular season.
There is that.
Nobody was particularly close.
I mean, if you want to be top of the table, teams are going to come for you.
Right. But I don't want to discount the fact that they had a Open Cup run that was 1 game short of a final. And a reason for that is, well-trodden ground here, but it took quite a bit to knock them out of that tournament. My point is, they've been in do-or-die situations. They've been in, win or go home situations, and they had passed the test. And it took, even with how that game went, it took until a last second penalty penalty shootout to finally knock them off. So we have seen this team wear the expectations and do it, I think. So,
and even the Nashville game in League's Cup.
Right.
I mean, Nashville plays a lot of negatively. It wasn't a win, right? But they fought their way back and did not lose in regulation.
Yeah.
And so either of the knockout tournaments, nobody was able to beat them in regulation.
Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is that due to the current format of MLS playoffs, you can get dumped out of the playoffs by the scenario I laid out online, which is just infuriating to think about.
Yeah.
Is you win game one by some absurd margin, like 4-0, 3-0, draw the next two games 0-0, lose on penalties in both, and you will be eliminated from the postseason, having won the only game that reached a decision at the full 90 and having held your opponent scoreless through 270 minutes of soccer.
Frustrating. Yeah. Incredibly frustrating. I do want to, we'll touch on the playoff format in part 3, because I think that is a very good conversation. And Cincy Soccer Talks, Ken Hoetker has been all over this on Twitter. So yes, completely agree with you there.
I think it's Ken Hoetker.
Hoetker?
What's the name of our guest?
Evan.
So I want, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But if I'm right, I want credit for getting this man's name right.
Oh yeah. Any amount of money I would bet on me getting it wrong. So
if I have it wrong, it says nothing about how I feel about Ken. But if I have it right, it means I like Ken the most and have the most respect for him.
Damn.
If I get it wrong, it's because I've only read his name because I'm well read.
Yeah.
He's an autodidact.
Yes.
He also puts together I believe it's him, puts together the salary tracker for Cincy Soccer Talk, which I assume everybody else just copy and pastes and then makes their own little adjustments and pretends like they do it as well. So way to go.
So other big pictures for this game.
Please.
Last night. Lucho scores again, this time from open play. So he finishes off the season with a header. Now, everyone was surprised that he scored off a header, but I'd like to point out that Lucho's second most famous goal of all time came off a header off of a 50-yard cross from Wayne Rooney. So the man does know how to score with his head in big moments. We know this to be true.
Yes.
He's much like Master Yoda. Judge him not by his size when it comes to his ability to get his head onto the ball.
Yes. What is his first most famous goal?
The run against Charlotte.
Oh, yeah. God damn it.
Come on.
Guys.
Wow.
Wow.
The goal.
So hang on. Best
Kevin,
goal,
much like the Athletic, does not watch FC Cincinnati games, so is not familiar with Lucho's game.
So you guys said his name is Lucho Acosta? Is that his real name or is that a nickname?
It's Luciano, actually. You might have to look him up under a different name.
Oh, my God. We've been looking at the wrong guy the whole time.
Right. And that's why Kevin's MVP ballot was for Berkey.
Look, his G plus was good. And as soon as I figure out what G plus is, I will tell you all about it. It's a social media
platform that Alphabet Company disbanded.
I read this on Google Wave Reader.
G plus, like the MLS salary budget, is a number presented to you with no context that nobody will explain. But it's treated as self-evidently meaningful.
Also, my favorite
real quick,
thing okay.
If I could defend my honor, there's a difference between best goal and most famous goal. Okay, continue.
I was just going to say that if you want something that will bring you joy when you're unable to unsee it going forward, every official person that writes for MLSsoccer.com, I think, is contractually required to write the playoffs as the MLS Cup presented by Audi playoffs. And so even in like their stories where they're otherwise like not, this is my 10 things that happened this weekend over the MLS season. Every time they refer to MLS Cup, they always have to include presented by Audi. And it's just very funny to read once you start reading this.
I have an idea. We call it the MLS Cup as discussed by the PostCast. And we have to put discussed by the PostCast after every time we mention MLS Cup. MLS Cup Playoffs discussed by the PostCast kicks off this weekend. That's what I want. That's what
Pat Brennan, I know you're a listener. You can make this happen for us.
Audi can present it. We will discuss
it. The MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi as discussed by the PostCast.
Yes. If we can get like 3 people to tweet that would be great, I think. That would be good.
That was like when Pardon My Take sponsored a bowl game that didn't have a sponsor, but they didn't do anything. They just sent a guy down with a trophy that had that was the whatever it was bowl presented by Pardon My Take, and tried to have a guy on the field award a trophy that wasn't recognized by the bowl because they'd lost their sponsor over like some contract dispute. So
we should figure out a way to sponsor like the conference semifinal trophy, and that'll be ours. We can present the Eastern Conference semifinal trophy.
Oh no, we should do is we should send someone to that game in New York on Wednesday and sponsor the play-in game, because it's probably not sponsored. The play-in game presented by the PostCast.
Ooh, that'd be good. What's our trophy? A fight button, a replica fight button.
There you go. Yeah.
It's a delicious box of empanadas frozen from the empanadas box. Use promo code the Post Cincy when ordering.
Yeah. Does that work online, by the way?
Unclear. I don't know. I'll have to ask.
All right. I'm just curious.
I want to say it should, but I don't want to make any promises here that they cannot keep.
Because you can order carryout online.
I mean,
we'll have to get on that.
Call them up. Place your order over the phone. I feel like you get a better chance.
Talk to a human being. You should use some interpersonal interactions.
I would say like 75-80% of American soccer fans get crippling anxiety from talking to somebody on the telephone. So I don't want anybody to go to,
including me.
I don't want anybody to have to go to like the hospital due to following some recommendation on the PostCast.
Not only calling, but then asking for a discount. Ooh, it's a double whammy.
What if they say no? What if they don't like me?
Did you ever listen to This American Life, where he's talking about like how he saw some guy get like a quote unquote good guy discount?
Yes,
and he like went to try it, but he's like the most awkward guy like imaginable. He's like, can I get like any kind of like a good guy discount? Like, no, you're not getting one, man. They're going to charge you more.
Yeah, I know. You gotta speak with some confidence for the good guy discount. The good guy discount episode though is hilarious. It's a good one.
I don't know. I always like. Do you remember what was it Groupon, where you could buy you pay $50 and you get $100 in gift cards? Mm-hmm. I did that once. And then I like had printed off the Groupon that I was going to use. And then I just felt like such a nerd and such a dork handing over a Groupon that I ended up just paying full price for the meal and like letting the Groupons go to waste. Like I felt so awkward handing them some printed piece of paper. Like, I printed this out and you should give me my food for half off. I was like, oh, that seems like a dickhead move. Why would I do that?
I bought a Groupon for mint martini. Remember that bar?
Oh my god!
Downtown? I think I had just moved to Cincinnati, and I bought a Groupon. Like it's like a loud music,
like a nightclub-ish thing. Yeah,
what's the Groupon
with like kind
for?
Of
like
club vibe.
An extra sparkler in your bottle of champagne.
And I'm like handing this lady like, well, we get I paid $25. I got $50. It's like
Yeah, because whenever you do that, I always envision it's the same reaction from the person that works there. Just an exasperated sigh, realizing that as they take that means that, oh, you're only going to tip on whatever the half price cost was.
Yep.
And that they're getting screwed out of money. It's like, no, take my Groupon. I know that I'm supposed to tip on the full amount, not the amount minus the discount. I'm a good one. I'm one of the good people.
Yep.
When I worked at a museum, we ran a print ad for like, if you cut this thing out, it was like buy one, get one free admission. And this whole like army of little old ladies came in, and one person had the coupon and everybody else had photocopies of the coupon. And it says real big on there, like no copies. But I was like, I don't give a shit. It's the same thing. Come on in. It was a lot of effort to try to like dupe the tiny museum that desperately needed money and visitors. So thanks.
I had a friend at work. This was a long time ago, where he had a buddy that was you know, everyone has like the one friend that kind of just never went anywhere in life, like kind of like a slacker friend that they're doing okay, but they're just sort of bouncing from job to job, just, you know, never really, no ambition in life. Well, his buddy was either working as an assistant manager or a ship supervisor at a burrito joint. I'm not going to say which one, but it's a larger burrito joint.
Noted.
And when he quit, he stole an entire box of free burrito coupons from the restaurant. And so he was just giving out stacks of free burrito coupons to anyone and everyone. So my buddy comes into work with just an absolute like wrapper size stack of free burrito coupons. It's like, yeah, my buddy got all these. And like, these are stolen. It's like, yeah, no, they never check them, whatever. So he's just giving them out to everybody. We had a friend who took the coupon in to get a burrito. And the person was like, hold on, I have to call my manager.
Oh,
there had
no.
been like a flag put out for these coupons because this guy had stolen them. And so the manager comes out and starts accusing my coworker, where'd you get this coupon from?
Oh no.
And she was like, I got it from a friend. He just gave it to me and said if I wanted a free burrito. Who is he? What's his name? I don't think I have to answer that question.
Am I being detained?
Can I just pay for this and leave? Whatever's going on seems very weird right now.
How many coupons do you steal before they blacklist all of those coupons, right? Like,
right.
You could get away with 10, sure. 100? 1,500? What's the limit?
It was a large box of free burrito coupons, from my understanding. It would have fed you for quite some time, I think.
Oh, man. That is great. And man, speaking of free coupons, Thiago Almada got a red card, which in a lot of ways was like a free coupon to the FC in the 51st minute. And nothing changed. Nothing really changed.
So I want to bring something up about Almada. So
Please.
Almada and Lucho both finished with 30 goal contributions
Pretty good.
per MLS stat keeping. That's only because, for some reason, Lucho has not gotten credit for a secondary assist for Badji's goal.
Oh, weird.
And is this step one in the steal?
Ooh.
Are they taking this stat away in the, like
the dead of night?
People carrying out thousands of ballots in Michigan,
in Atlanta, Fulton
yeah,
County.
wherever, everywhere, probably.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
many
Fulton
people
County.
are saying.
So they took this stat away, this assist away from Lucho, right? Step one. Step two, he ends up with the same counting stats, goal contributions as Almada, right? So he no longer leads MLS in goal contributions.
Right.
Step three, now you have some cover to say like he's not quite a standout, and you give MVP to Almada or Berkey.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, Bouanga, because he actually won the Golden Boot.
Because we can't tell the difference between Almada and Lucho on this stat. Therefore, neither one of them should win it. And if they're too close to call, we should award it to a third person, Bouanga or Berkey.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to know my big conspiracy is I think Almada got himself kicked out of this game.
Ooh.
Because if you read Laurel's Twitter, Almada and Barreal exchanged jerseys at halftime, not at the full-time whistle. And someone commented, is that a thing? I don't think I've ever seen players exchange jerseys at halftime. And she said, it happens every so often, I think, but I've never actually seen it.
It happens.
I think Almada went to Barreal and said, do you want the jersey? Because I'm not finishing this game on the field. I got someplace else to be.
Well, they wear different jerseys first, second half. So that's been a newish thing in a lot of leagues is the halftime jersey swap. It's been I think paid more attention to because of some of the more high profile players in the league this year, like Barreal.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Is it possible that Almada just had a Groupon to a area nightclub and he wanted to make sure he could get in there early to make sure it was good?
What nightclub would that be?
I don't know. I was trying to
Top
quickly
Cats?
look something up. I don't know. I don't even know the name of one off the top of my head to make a quick joke.
Well, no, we had this fight. I forget where it was when, like, do you remember like Joe Burrow said something at an interview where he said there's really not a lot to do in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
And everyone immediately jumped down his shit saying like, no, you don't understand. There's tons of stuff to do in Cincinnati.
Go to the zoo, Joe Burrow.
Right.
Yeah, right. But like, there's not like that big, there's not the professional athlete thing to do.
Right.
There aren't these massive clubs where they're getting like the VIP lounge and bottle service and hanging out with celebrities and all that shit.
Joe Burrow isn't going to Mad Tree. You know why? Because if he went to Mad Tree, he would be mobbed by people and not have a good time. When like athletes want to go out, they want to go out to places where there is a roped off area, there is security, and it is very closely controlled as to who and what you're interacting with. And in terms of that, there's maybe like one place in Cincinnati, maybe two places like that anymore that are like VIP service lounges and bars and stuff like that. There is absolutely no place Almada was going on a Saturday night from a 6 p.m. kickoff to go get a discount to.
It just made me think like a random like Mexican restaurant, like is it El Toro in Oakley Square or something like that, or not Oakley Square, but like in like the Oakley Hyde Park Kroger Pavilion, have a table with a velvet rope behind it that says VIP only.
So the place that would do that is, if you've been to that shitty, it's also in Oakley, they have a couple areas called Mi Cozumel or something like that.
Mi Cozumel would absolutely put a velvet rope around some table.
Where every drink you order has an obnoxious sparkler in it for no reason whatsoever.
And rock candy and dumb shit.
It's the fucking worst. It's
Mi Cozumel would absolutely do that.
We're catering just to the athlete crowd. It's like, this is our VIP area. No one else will be allowed in. You and all the chips and salsa you can eat.
Sean India used to have a table reserved for FC Cincinnati players back in the USL days, because they would all go in there and eat at the giant round table at the front of the restaurants.
Well, they also all used to live at Oakley Station, because that was where, or the place right next to Mad Tree, because that was where the team actually put them up if they didn't have housing otherwise.
Man, that's what we need. We need more Indian restaurants with exclusive seating for the pro athletes that live here and visit here, and we're set. Anyway, that's where Almada was off to. He was off to Krishna.
Can I ask about another player whose whereabouts were unknown then at that point?
Let's do this now. Let's get into it. Boupendza discourse. Talk to me, Chief.
Yeah, I'm worried. Something's all right. So here's the deal with this. So if you living under a rock and you didn't see it, word leaked out on Saturday that Aaron Boupendza was not going to be in the 18. He was not dressing for the game. And it was said it was due to disciplinary reasons regarding arriving late from international duty. And then it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Meaningless game. We're sending a message, there's some discipline. But then it's continued after the game in the press conference where Noonan says the issue remains ongoing, as if they still don't have an idea of what the resolution to this is. It was very ominous in tone. And so with this, it's kind of like that scene in Step Brothers where John C. Reilly rips the massive fart in the interview. And it's like, okay, now all of a sudden the tuxedos seem kind of fucked up. That's really weird. Why would you do that?
Right.
Now, in hindsight, some of the interactions between Boupendza and Acosta and Barreal and some of the things we've seen on the field, maybe I look at those in a new light now where, all right, now it's not just the players on the field that seem to be having a little bit of, problems with Boupendza. The coaching staff also has a problem with Boupendza that's significant enough that he is seated for an entire game, an entire match, and the coaching staff feels strongly enough about it to let it outside the dressing room to say, no, He's being benched for disciplinary reasons. The matter is ongoing. Like, it would be one thing if he just wasn't available and it was like, we're sending a message to him internally. They also sent a message to him publicly by allowing this to be discussed. And I don't want this right before the playoffs. This is not a great time for locker room drama. This is that anxiety you were talking about. This doesn't help that. Right.
And it's one thing, again, to like, oh, he was late, so he's being benched, and that's the end of it. Like, I think back to like the similar situation with like Brenner was late to training. I don't know if that was this year or last year. And yeah, he was held out. He was late to training. He was suspended for a day. Actually, I think he was just like suspended from like a day that they were training. It wasn't a match. He was suspended for a day, and then he came back and it was like, we're done. The fact that they were like, and this is not resolved, that gives me icky feelings. Grayson, are we being too anxious here, or is there something here?
I think so. By leaked, I want to be very clear about this. This wasn't something that leaked.
Ooh.
This is an official statement the team put out ahead of the game.
Dropped.
I think they
dropped. The statement dropped.
I think they put it out when they did the lineup announcement, kind of simultaneously with that.
Yeah.
The team's kind of notoriously tight-lipped about stuff. There have been more like really concerning things that just didn't go addressed at all publicly. You know, players going back and forth to South America.
Junior Moreno's
fights at dinner.
Junior Moreno's mustache is what I was going to say.
Right, yeah. So I almost want to say that like you put it out because you know it's not going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's like, okay, well, he got to, you know, spend another day in Europe or whatever. They put out that he's being held out of a meaningless game for disciplinary reasons. Noonan just says kind of generally like it's ongoing. And then he comes back, he starts the playoffs. Man, Noonan looks like a genius. Right? Look at that. Look at that leadership. You know, creating taking this issue and killing it in 1 week. You know? Because
if
other
it's
times,
killed in 1 week.
If it's killed in 1 week, right? And I just think back to like other times when players were basically pretty clearly held out, for reasons, and the team just didn't say anything about it, right?
Yeah.
And why are they saying something about it now? Probably because it was a meaningless game, and there was no downside to sitting him for that game, and they don't think it's going to be a playoff narrative.
Yeah.
Now, see, I would change what you're saying a little bit. I would buy the idea of it's a meaningless game. Oh, I do buy the idea it was a meaningless game, but to me, the only part about this that the explanation for all this that makes sense, because you're right, the club is notoriously tight-lipped. They keep a lot of stuff in-house, and we have sat wondering for extended periods of time what the hell is going on with people where no statement was forthcoming. Where the hell is Yerson Mosquera? What's the status on Santiago Arias as a trialist? They don't say shit until they absolutely have to.
Kenneth Vermeer's roster status. Sorry, just remembering that.
Yuya Kubo's option. They don't. So if you go by that logic, the reason they said something here publicly was because they had to say something, and the reason they had to say something, the only part of this that makes sense to me, is that they have made a determination that he needed to hear something said publicly. That whatever issue they're having with Aaron Boupendza, they think that the best way to resolve it is to send a message to him publicly. That whatever they've said to him privately or the conversations they've had internally haven't been effective. And it's time for publicly them to say something to put pressure on him to change his behavior or to get with the program. So yeah, I agree with you that if this, he plays in the postseason and he does well and these issues clean up, yeah, this was a good bit of man management by Pat Noonan, who I'm sure the assistant coaching staff and also Albright as well. But it also feels a little bit like a Hail Mary, like, fuck, we've tried everything internally with this guy. He doesn't get it. He keeps doing things that he's not supposed to do. And now we're going to have to say something publicly and address it and hope that public shaming or public pronouncement, like coaches do this all the time. They send messages through the media by saying certain things or how they address certain things. I don't know that it's a great sign that it's reached that point.
I don't think they would do a public Hail Mary. I think that, yes, like there's certain steps that they're going through to deal with this. I don't think Albright or Noonan or anybody in leadership at the club is going to put out a public statement that then puts them at the risk of looking like there was a situation that they couldn't handle. Right? Because like now you've acknowledged the issue. If he doesn't start playing in the playoffs, it looks like you signed a player who's a problem and you weren't able to manage your locker room.
To be clear, I expect he's going to play in the playoffs no matter what.
However, go ahead.
I said he's going to play in the playoffs. Whatever they needed to do in terms of this, he will be playing because they need their best lineup on the field come this coming weekend. The bigger issue is whether or not the behavior continues to repeat, or this wake-up call publicly was what they needed to sort of get him with whatever on board on the team,
Yeah, what I would say to why, on Twitter the last few days I've been kind of publicly not not concerned about this is I'm not naive enough to think that teams don't have internal issues, even really, really well-run teams. But I am, faithful enough in the people running the team to think that, one, Albright would not miss so bad on a $7 million signing. That turns out to be a character issue. I don't think he is a character issue. I want to be very clear about that. But also, they do all this. They have all these conversations with players. They do all this diligence. They look into stuff. He's been very good at emphasizing character.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It does sound like there's a disagreement that was not started this window with Boupendza and about his international duties, but I'm confident they'll iron that out. I think we got really good we got really good folks on the coaching staff who have shown to be, at least publicly from what we can see, good at managing personalities. And you end up with disagreements sometimes. And
yeah,
I just think that this is not going to turn into a thing.
Yeah.
Beyond what it already is.
Yeah. The situation, I think too, there's a lot that has got us to this point. Like, if you remember, they didn't announce he was going out for international duty until we got photos of him in Europe, I think it was. With
Portugal, yeah.
Yeah, with the Gabon national team.
You think he didn't tell the team he was going?
It's a possibility.
I don't know, but
it's probably not worth speculating, but
I don't. Yeah, it's a little weird. They didn't announce his international duty until he's already on Gabon's Instagram page.
Right. So there's weirdness there. Technically they have to release him. So it's not like he can like disobey the team's orders and go. Like FIFA gets involved at that point if clubs are trying to hold guys back. Yeah, it's a little weird. I will say this, sort of like a positive spin on this. Every time and I mean like the larger, broader, like even universe, we have doubted Boupendza, that's when he has his best games. Like his first game in, boom, one of the like great goal, and then like an amazing almost goal with him. And then there was a moment where like, oh my God, does he suck? And then like the moment you have that thought, he scores 2 goals, looks incredible. You're like, all right, this is our guy. And I'm just excited that we already have that in our minds now. So going into this weekend, there's some public doubt. We're wondering, can he do this? This is when he walks off the plane, assuming he isn't back yet, and scores the goal. No, I think he is in Cincinnati. So.
You know what? Not for nothing, I'm a Chelsea fan. I have rooted for absolute shitheads as strikers that had personality conflicts with anyone. I own a Diego Costa kit. I like my strikers to be a little on edge in terms of following the rules. So to be
that's
clear,
why you loved Brenner. That's right.
Right. To be clear, as long as Boupendza keeps scoring goals, I don't care. if he scores goals in the playoffs and we win MLS Cup, I don't care if he's following team rules or arriving late. I don't care if he doesn't tell people where he's going. Score goals and everything's fine as far as I'm concerned. And maybe it's a good sign that he's, flouting authority a little bit. He does his own thing on the field. We want a guy you want a striker that's creative, that's not bound and constrained by the rules of what's been done before or how things will be done in the future. You want someone who is their own man. And sometimes there's a price to pay with that, I guess.
Yeah, it's not that I so much want him to follow team rules, but I want him to want to follow team rules.
It's such that a
said, again,
take.
Again, that said, this is early going with him. It's been a little bit of a weird thing since he joined because there was the League's Cup break. There have been 3 international windows.
Mm-hmm.
It's, they're still feeling each other out. There needs to be a lot more of a history between him and the team for me to draw any long-term conclusions about, whether he's a shithead or not. Right.
Yeah.
He seems, when he's on the field, he plays well. He seemed to have a really good time in the stadium. He seemed to have a really good time celebrating the supporters shield with everybody. He's a striker. He's got a personality. We got a lot of players on this team with personalities. They seem to be able to play together pretty well.
Yeah. Well, here's to hoping it all comes together for one beautiful thing. I will say, and this is maybe my transition point away from it, should Boupendza not be the guy up top alongside Brandon Vasquez, one Dominic Badji, awesome game against Atlanta. And we finally see this guy that started off strong, I think, or at least at the midpoint of the season, was doing really good for FCC. And I remember half joking and then immediately not joking about, oh, maybe the Brenner replacement was here all along. And then he got hurt. And we had not seen a fully healthy Badji in a long while. The last couple of games, he's been pretty good. And in this one, he was excellent. This was one of his best games, I think, in the orange and blue. And if Boupendza can't go, I think that's fine. I mean, I'd prefer Boupendza, especially if he's working. But look, this team...
It was good for Badji to score.
Yeah.
Been hurt most of this year off and on. Never really picked momentum up. If this team wants to win MLS Cup, they're going to need Aaron Boupendza to be the Aaron Boupendza that we've seen off and on, where he is working well and interplaying well with Lucho Acosta and flowing within the offense. That's their best chance to win. Especially, you know who they were missing last night, as they were dying to break down an Atlanta team that was bunkering in down a man, they wwere missing Aaron Boupendza is who they were missing on the field. Another creative attacking piece that can shoot from outside against a team that's playing in, packing in deep, that can make off-ball runs that open up space. That's who they need. I'm don't take this away. I'm very happy for Badji because he has, like I said, he's had a whale of a year this year in terms of just getting consistency. But I really do think he's a good depth piece. I don't know that I want to elevate him above that at this point.
I think my argument would be that FCC's most dominant stretch of the season through, the high point of the summer, he was that guy with Vasquez. And there's a lot of 1-0 wins, but
they were wins.
I'll take any type of win in the playoffs. So sorry, go ahead, Grayson.
I was going to say the one player who I am anxious for an update on is Santiago Arias.
Yeah, that would be good. Not in the 18.
Powell had an assist. That's great for him.
Yeah.
Glad to see that for Malvis.
One of his better games, too. It was a good time to see him step up.
But Arias allows the team to play in a way that that we don't have a good like-for-like replacement for.
No, it's funny. You say Powell had one of his better games or his best game of the year. The drop off from Arias at where he was cruising at for the past 2 or 3 months to what Powell was last night, even with Powell having a good game, was significant.
Yeah.
Just Arias is so much more threatening moving forward and has such a better eye for how the play is developing in front of him versus Powell, who's a lot more reactive as opposed to proactive. My hope is that with Arias is that they were just holding him out because this game didn't mean anything, and that allow him to rest up an extra week coming back from international duty and whatever knock on he'd had there. Really, they almost more than a healthy Boupendza. They need Arias back on the field, I think, to really hit their full stride.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And by not having Arias on the bench, you let Halsey get a couple of minutes in this game where he looked fine in this one. So, I think that, Arias and Boupendza, they changed this team quite a bit. And in MLS, in any team in the world, but, two great players at key positions radically change how this team's prospects, look in the playoffs. So
it's just if you get Boupendza at striker and Arias at right back, what is the weak link in the 11?
Is it Roman? It's Roman or Moreno?
Probably. No, it's
Murphy,
Hagland or Murphy.
Yeah.
But that's not it's not really a knock.
Yeah.
On how they've played, right? It's just, I guess, that's
the weak link in the team is the next man off the bench is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Whoa, Yuya Kubo, who had an awesome game in this one, I think, for what? It's hard to say that these guys had a great game when they couldn't break down a team, up a man. But hey, I thought Kubo had some great moments in this one as well. But that is the beautiful thing. When this team is at full strength, it is very difficult to identify its weaknesses. And, oh, by the way, every team in MLS has that defender that's maybe not world class. So are we good with this game? Is this where we leave this game to rest? In part 3, we're going to touch on the playoffs. Do we have anything else that we want to
put it to bed? Hell of a season. Kind of went out with a wet fart, but who cares?
No, I'll save it for part 3. All right. Well, before we get there, Evan Louro stopped by the old PostCast for a vibes check. We got into some goalkeeping theory. We discussed some training ground rumors with Evan. And of course, we had to get a little pizza update in there. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. And then in part 3, we're going to look at the playoff bracket, the layout of the tournament. Maybe we have some takes on a best of 3 tournament, and that'll be your PostCast. So enjoy this conversation. We will catch you on the other side. This episode is also brought to you by Cincy shirts. Look, you know Cincy shirts. You love Cincy shirts. They've been with FCC from the beginning, and we here at the PostCast, we're just huge fans of their work. They were very early sponsors of the PostCast here, and we have always enjoyed their work. If you head on over to cincyshirts.com, that's Cincy with a Y, shirts.com, and check out using the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, you will get 10% off your order, and you let them know that we sent you. Like, they have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online and at their 2 retail locations in Hyde Park and Fort Mitchell. If they don't have your size on the shelf, they can print you one on the spot. That is a fantastic feature and something that I have used as well. So again, special thank you to Cincy Shirts. Head on over to their website or check the link down below in the description for the promo code ThePostCincy for 10% off your next order. And a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts. And joining us here in part 2, a regular on the PostCast at this point, FC Cincinnati goalkeeper Evan Louro. Evan, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh man, we are great because we are fans of your team, the Supporter Shield winners and favorites, odds-on favorites going into MLS Cup finals and playoffs and whatever else we're supposed to call this thing. This is exciting for us because we've never been here before. However, for you in 2018, you have been here before. How do the vibes compare this season to that season?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for bringing that up. Time. I mean, it was obviously it's a culmination of all the hard work everybody's done throughout the year. I mean, obviously, we had the little celebration after a loss. That kind of sucked. But, it was important to, have that moment like in front of the fans, and like all of our families were there. So like I got to walk my wife and son around. So that was pretty cool. After the final whistle, I would say vibes were pretty low. And then, once all the festivities came around, kind of brought the mood up a bit.
When does that switch flip? When does it flip from sad about the result to party mode?
Honestly, it was kind of weird because like some guys went inside because like, you lose, you're mad.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. So like we had to like remind, because you're not thinking about we have to do this thing after the game. So like right. We had to like go get some people that went inside. So we were like waiting for a second. But I mean, as soon as Carl and Jeff jumped on there and started their speeches, I think it kind of sunk in.
Did anyone warn Lucho how heavy the supporters shield was? Because his reaction when he takes it for the first time makes me think he wasn't prepared for how heavy it was.
Neither was I, to be fair, because in 2018, I think we snuck in and won it the last game. So I think Atlanta was like ahead. So I gave Al a bit of stick for that because I snuck that from him. But we just took somebody had a Captain America shield in the stands, so like we just celebrated with that, and it was like a little plastic thing, and I never actually got to hold it because they just kind of set it up and we just took a picture a couple days later. But yeah, no, it's really heavy. It was weird. like I took it, I went, for my turn for the picture, and I, grabbed it. I was like, oh, whoa. And first I thought Lucho was being a little dramatic, but no, he's
just... Oh God. Well, I have to ask you about this. Speaking of Lucho being dramatic, came out, was it this week, last week, in practice, one Lucho Acosta, we hear, gave you a dirty Panenka to end training session one. What happened here?
He just ruined my day. So, like every Friday, assuming we play on a Saturday, every day before, Lucho and I have a running tab because he likes to take 3 penalties on me. And if I save one, I win. But I always tell him, like, none of this BS down the middle stuff, because you're never going to do that anyway. So be serious, and I'll be serious. He said, okay. So I saved 2. Or I think he missed, and then I saved 1. So he needed to score, like, so he, went against the cardinal rule of not chipping it down the middle. But yeah, I mean, we have some stakes on that. Like, I tell him, hey, like, if I save it, we switch paychecks for a week. And stuff like that.
It's just 1 week. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. What? Come on. What's that to him? Or like I get to drive his G-Wagon like for a week or something like that. But no, it's all in good fun for sure.
So when that happens, do you like run to the social media manager and be like, hey, can we keep that one between us right there? That doesn't need to go out on the comms.
Yeah, I want to know who leaked that, because that's a problem. Whoever said that's a snake in the grass.
Oh no. It's one of those things where I feel like, you got to pull Lucho aside and be like, hey man, like, I got a career too. Like, I don't need coaches seeing that. Like,
you're like, come on, you're already the MVP. You don't need to do anything else, buddy.
You also don't need it getting into his head that that's a valuable strategy for taking PKs. Don't go down the middle.
Right.
Let's not
go to the corner.
Yeah.
It does make me think though. And maybe this is entirely the fans overreacting to things, which has never happened in the history of the sport. It does feel like Lucho has gotten better at penalties over the course of at least last year into this year. Do you see that? Is this your credit with these Friday drills, I'll call them?
I don't want to say it's me, but it's me. I mean, listen, Lucho's a dog, so I don't think I help him in any way, but I mean, whatever I can do, I will do. He kind of just does it on his own.
Do you think your experience of facing him every week, and specifically penalties, gives you an edge over other keepers in MLS? Like, do you think you would save more Lucho penalties than your average MLS keeper, given your experience?
Ooh.
I mean, me specifically, yes, because I am just so far ingrained in his head.
Yeah.
So I definitely think if it came down to it, if we ever play against each other, it's happy days for me.
Do that annoying thing that Nashville did in Leagues Cup, where they sub in the backup keeper that I guess has just been studying everybody's shot chart, right before.
Yeah, that's a bit.
What do you think of that? Yeah, what do you make of a move like that?
I mean, I wouldn't like it if it was me. Whether I'm playing or not. Like, if I'm playing, I don't want to get taken out.
Right.
And if I'm not playing, I don't want to just, hey, you're not playing, but we'll toss you in for pens.
Right.
I don't know. It's weird.
You become the scapegoat.
And if I don't save any, then it's my fault,
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, you better save at least 1 or 2 if you're being specifically subbed in for that. Otherwise, it's like, what were you doing the entire time?
It makes no sense. I don't know. I wouldn't like it, but
yeah. Is that a thing that like coaches have in their back pocket? Like, is that like a strategy that every coach has available, or is that like, I don't know, an arrangement they make? Yeah.
I don't know if like keepers can be good at penalties because I mean, obviously there's, you can study and you can pick up little things here and there. Like does a guy like itch his nose before he goes to the left, like weird things like that. But 9 times out of 10, you're just guessing or going off of like where they usually go. So I don't know. I mean, if there's someone that's worldy at penalties, then I guess you could do it. But again, I wouldn't prefer it. But
so maybe the galaxy brain solution here is to hire a professional poker player, get like Phil Hellmuth or something like that to study tape of these guys to see if they have a tell as to which way they're going and use that as some research.
I'll tell you what, Paul Rogers is pretty on it. He's pretty on it.
Don't play poker with him.
No,
Noted.
He'll sort you out.
So I got to ask in relation to just, the Shield and how things have been going so far in the season. So you said the last time, and remembering back to that year, you sort of snuck in the last go around, won the Shield on decision day with New York. With this team, you won it several weeks ago, and the games kind of haven't had any real, in terms of the standings or playoff seedings, haven't had any real, meaning so far. What does the team do in order to keep focus and keep the energy going when everybody knows that we've already wrapped up Supporters Shield and other teams may be playing for something, but you guys really aren't playing for anything right now?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of set goals for ourselves. I think we really wanted that total points record. I think it was like 72 or something like that. And I think if we won the last 3 games, we would have got it. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And then, once we kind of moved that aside, it was just, obviously this, second to last game, we're at Miami with everything that's going on in Miami now, with Messi and stuff like that. So it's not hard to get up for any game, but like that one's got a little more just with everything going on. And then we just wanted this last game. I mean, we want to go into playoffs in a good run. So that's kind of our mentality, is we're taking it as we're getting hard games because these other teams are fighting for seeding and are fighting for playoff spots. So we're getting good games, and we just want to use those good competition games to get into the postseason, on a high note. Yeah.
And now that we're in the playoffs, now that you're in the playoffs, I say we because I'm a dork. Look, I live vicariously through this team, so it feels like we. The playoff format with this best of 3 format with the games coming on the weekends only. What do you make of this format? Do you like the games being on the weekends? What do you make of the best of 3 situation?
It's certainly very American.
Yes.
I mean, it's something new, I guess. It's only for the first round, so it is what it is at this point. It kind of, I've never been a part of a best of 3, so I guess we'll kind of see how it goes. I mean, I don't mind it. You'd like to think over the course of more games, the better team will, kind of come out on top, and, because one-off games, you never know. Anybody can do anything.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't really have an opinion at this point.
Yeah.
And just in general with playoffs, how does a game in the playoffs, how does it compare to a regular season game? What's different about a playoff game, or the energy surrounding a playoff game, or the preparation for a playoff game that might not be the case in a regular season game?
Yeah, I think you got to find a balance because you don't want to change too much. I mean, especially, off of the season that we had, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So try to keep, it's not like we're doing anything different. But at the same time, like, you get that little little itch, it's not nerves, but it's, you know, that little extra buzz. I mean, TQL is always kind of bumping, so I don't think anything will change there. But yeah, I mean, you know, you step on the field and, you know, that 5-10 seconds before the whistle blows and you get that little, like, you know, tingle in your stomach. Once the whistle blows, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a game.
Yeah. No, that's
love. It will be the first playoff game in TQL history, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, no, absolutely loving that. I guess just in terms of like the preparation and everything that goes into this, we've gotten word that Pat Noonan, intense guy in training. How has Pat been these last couple of weeks at training in terms of like getting the team up for these moments here?
Yeah, I think you know, not much has changed with Pat throughout the season. You know, he's demanding, but he finds a good balance of knowing when to, you know, get into people, knowing when to put an arm around a guy, knowing when to, you know, bring him aside and talk to him. I think that's what he does a really good job at. He's a very good man manager, and he's very clear in what he wants and stuff like that. And he's a guy that everyone will run through a wall for. So, I mean, he's, you know, kind of just leading by example on how to, you know, take the playoffs and not get too high by the highs, not get too lows by the lows. You know, he'll be the first one to say, like, yeah, obviously, like, Supporter Shield is great and everything like that. And it was really important for the club to win its first trophy. But at the end of the day, like, we have another goal in mind, and that's MLS Cup. So,
yeah.
And does the preparation, is it more like, this will be the first year I think that they've had a play-in game?
Yeah.
What's it like actually not knowing who you're playing as we sit here recording on Sunday night? And you guys won't know until Wednesday at 10 o'clock when that game finally ends.
Yeah. It's, you know, certainly different. I mean, luckily, you know, we've played all the Eastern Conference teams twice. So, you know, we kind of know what to expect, and our staff does a really good job with, you know, this, you know, the rest of the scouting department, and, you know, sorting out these games and watching film and giving all the players, you know, bullet points and keys and going over everything with, you know, each position group and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's the same as every other game. You kind of just, you don't look 2 weeks in advance. You know what I mean? So you look, whoever you're playing next, that's who you prepare for, and you sort it out then, you know?
Yeah. In terms of the play-in opponents, do you want New York Red Bull? Do you want to avoid New York Red Bull?
I couldn't care less.
Because I would love to avoid them.
I think if we play how we want to play, like, we focus on ourselves, you know? So
yeah. Oh, fair enough. I just don't know if emotionally I can take a potential 3-game series against them.
Yeah.
Evan, no, you've been so kind with your time here. I can't get you out of here without asking you at least this. Have you had any good pies around town? What's the pizza update on your end?
I'm loyal to Taglio, man.
You found your spot. Okay.
I found my spot.
The bigger question is, will there be any special pies being made in the pizza oven for playoff week?
Yeah.
I think the pizza oven might be retired for the winter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's getting too cold. I don't want to sit out there, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And now that I have a spot, I don't need it as much, you know. Once my son gets a little older and he can kind of do some stuff and, you know, mix the dough and all that good stuff, then we'll break it back out. But I got my spot. I'm good.
Yeah, nice. What's the go-to order, if I may ask?
Margarita.
Nice.
No nonsense.
Nice.
Thin.
Ooh.
Thin. Not the Detroit style, thin.
Yeah, if you ever dabbled.
It's a life hack. Their thin style is so much better than their Detroit style. Many people don't understand that.
So first time I had Taglio, I had the Detroit style because I'm like, I'm not even risking
right.
the thin. But then I Actually, my father-in-law came and he ordered it and I tried it and I'm like, it's kind of good. and he's from Jersey and he's like, yeah, it's kind of good. It's not bad. And I was like, all right, go on, Taglio.
I mean,
well, shit.
Not bad is like a 5-star review when it comes from someone from Jersey.
Yeah, no, it was good. I was really surprised, but it was really good.
Man, well, that is awesome. Now, Evan, you've been incredibly generous with your time. Wishing you and the team all of the best through the playoffs. And yeah, man, kill them dead for us. This is awesome. So thank you.
And maybe suspend the bet with Lucho and let him make a few. We want him on a confidence heater going into the playoffs.
I'm a team player.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, we are back, and again, huge thanks to Evan for letting us bother him for the old vibes check. There, he's one of the few that has the experience with the Supporter Shield, with the playoff run. It's always good to get into that mindset, and with the playoffs this year, no extra time. These games will be going immediately to penalties. Always good to get the goalkeeper's perspective on how penalties are being treated for that one. So awesome.
Thanks, yeah. I hate it.
Mm-hmm. So that leads us to the MLS Cup Audi playoffs, or MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi, as discussed by the PostCast. It is laid out. I don't know. There's 8 teams will make the playoffs. There is a play-in game on Wednesday. As we record, we do not know FC Cincinnati's opponent, but in our heart of hearts, we know it will be the New York Red Bulls, because of course it will be. This is what I was going to mention before that I will mention now. New York Red Bulls, obviously fierce rival for the FC Cincinnati, the orange and blue. I was thinking about this. Of course, it was the Red Bulls that ruined the Supporter Shield presentation by beating us at TQL Stadium.
You've been banging the drum that they're our real rivals for a while now.
Every moment in this club, there they are. Really don't want to see them again. So that's enough. They've done enough shitting on our parades. That's fine. We will be fine. So the playoffs, if you don't know, they changed it up again because MLS can't help themselves. Also, Apple really wanted more games to put on broadcast. That is why they made this ridiculous change. But there is a play-in game on Wednesday. It is New York Red Bulls and it is Charlotte. The first round, which will be FCC against that play-in game, is a best of 3 series where you have to win to get the point to win your best of 3. So you need to win 2 of the 3 games. After 90 minutes, if there is no outright winner, it goes immediately to a penalty kick. No golden goal, no extra time, immediately to penalties. The winner of that shootout gets the win overall. You win 2 shootouts, you won the best of 3 series. Following that, the entire rest of the bracket is single elimination, highest seed hosts. Pretty straightforward. That's how they've managed the playoffs in the past. Chief, best of 3. You brought it up before. Let's pick at it. What slight change could they have done here to make this better?
So you really get the sense that this is the kid that forgot the science fair project was due and then rushed to do it that morning before he had to present, that they had to expand the playoffs and they rushed through doing it and didn't stop to ask some really basic questions about what they were doing. And by the time they asked those questions, it was already set in stone and they felt like they couldn't change it. Like, for example, why is it in the Leagues Cup, in a 3-game round robin setup, they successfully figured out that your PK win should only be worth 2 points.
Yep.
while in this format, they decided that your PK win should be worth all 3 points. Because I think in Leagues Cup, isn't it like you got 1 point for the draw, 2 points for the PK win, right?
Yeah, that was exactly it. So if you had 2 PK winners alternate and another PK winner, they still got 5 points in this scenario. So yeah.
So in this scenario, it is entirely possible, like I said in the first segment of the show, that you could blow your opponent out in game 1. Yeah. Or hell, I'll even do you one better. You could 0-0 the first game at home, lose on PKs, go to their building, beat them 5-0 in their building.
Awesome. Come
back, 0-0 draw, lose on PKs. You will have scored the only 5 goals from open play.
And one on the road.
And one on the road. And scored all the away goals in this series. You will have won the only game that went to a result in the 90 minutes. So on the books, it would be win, draw, draw, you with the only win, and you will not advance in the playoffs. And that is absurd. That is just patently absurd that there is a scenario in this play. That is such an absurd outcome that alone should have necessitated a rule change with the playoffs. That knowing nothing else, you should have looked at this and said, there is no way that should be allowed to happen. And I don't think that's an unlikely outcome in these playoffs.
It's going to
look at how many games in Leagues Cup went to penalties.
Yeah.
Where they were the games where they went straight to penalties. And they have the scoring system already in Leagues Cup. This entire situation is fixed by 2 points for a penalty win, 1 point for penalty loss, right?
And they could fix that right now. They could fix that right now.
Yes. And that fixes the entire thing.
Yeah.
It means that you basically need to take all of your games to penalties, or you have to win a game in regulation to advance.
Yeah. So again, what the rule proposal is that you should have to accumulate 5 points using the Leagues Cup scoring rules, which is 3 points for an outright win, so within 90 minutes, 2 points for a penalty win, and 1 point for a penalty loss.
And in this scenario, if you win the first game and you lose the second
game in penalties,
that team is going to have to beat you in regulation to advance.
Yeah.
The way it should be. You should, if you win a game in the playoffs, you should not be knocked out for 2 straight draws. That's just absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially again in Grayson's scenario there, that gives home field advantage something more meaningful, that like you get they have to come to our stadium and beat us game at your stadium. Like that's the whole point of like why teams were fighting for seeding.
Right. And then what's great is that like in that decisive game in regulation, there aren't penalties in that game. You just decide the game, the full-time whistle blows, and anything short of a loss, you're advancing.
Yeah, that's great. And what's killer is, and Chief, you mentioned this, but like you can make that change right now. Like it doesn't materially change any coach's prep or anything. It's just a slightly different way of assessing the outcomes. And I think for the more obvious reason.
What's the reason not to do it? Like, what is the compelling reason? Like, if you are sitting at MLS Central right now, what is the argument that this system is better than the system that they used in Leagues Cup that we're talking about right now? What's the argument for keeping it this way? I can't think of it. It's only downside.
Yeah.
And it will is the goal to get these games to PKs because PKs are exciting? Is that all they want to see?
That's the only thing I could think of. But again, you're not on linear television. So they are
actually. There's a number of games that are going to be televised, I think, by Fox Sports and by ESPN in the postseason, which is why, allegedly, why it took so long for the goddamn schedule to drop.
Yes.
Because MLS has promised Apple, Fox, and ESPN that they will have a spread of inventory of games throughout the playoff window. And they need to coordinate that, or they needed to coordinate that based on seeding and hosting for teams like Charlotte that play in NFL venues where they can't play that game on a Sunday because the Panthers are in town 2 weeks from now, that sort of thing.
And I mean, this is why soccer-specific stadiums were preferred. Thanks, Seattle, Charlotte, Atlanta, and New England for all making the playoffs. Think about how much easier it would be if just all four of them just never made the playoffs. It'd be so much better. Maybe the league should rig that. Maybe the league should rig that scenario.
So, and as to the league being able to change this playoff rule right now, if you thought we were going to get this episode without me reading from the collective bargaining agreement between the league and the union, you were wrong. So
we were so close.
So the management rights clause in the CBA, it reserves MLS the right. Okay.
Love a reserved right
to control. Sorry, I lost it. Playoff format, including but not limited to the number of games, the number and identity of participating teams, eligibility for postseason participation, postseason competition rules. Right? So they don't need to go to the union to get buy-in for this.
Yeah. Or
they can just say tomorrow, and also, honestly, they could just play it off as not a change.
Yeah.
Because there's enough. Yeah. There's enough. The competition guidelines are like general enough on the website.
Yeah.
They could just say this is what they meant all along.
It would be really funny if they did. Like the first time a game goes to penalties, they're like, wow, Vancouver won 2 points on the road. And you're like, what?
And you're like, what? And they're like, and they just get really indignant about it. Like, did you guys not watch Leagues Cup? This is how we do it.
Come on. Yeah, this is a known thing.
You didn't know that we were changing our rules on PK advancement through Leagues Cup? That's the whole point of why we made Leagues Cup the way we did. Come on, it's always been this way. I love it when the sports league gaslights me like that. That just makes me happy.
That's all of MLS. Of course he signed within the roster rules, you moron. They're right here. We just changed them.
He's had an option every year. What are you talking about? Yuya Kubo's option is always rolling over.
It's just the same language, copy and paste.
We have always been at war with East Asia.
I do like the thing that makes me think like the linear television is like the penalties is the draw, right? Like the Fox Sports tweet can go out like, oh my God, if they win this penalty, it's game over or whatever. And that's more exciting than having to say, you know, Philadelphia has to win in regulation to stay alive. I don't know. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Penalties
but
suck.
You want a team to have to win in regulation to stay alive.
You'd think.
What would you rather have if you were linear television? Would you rather have 4 minutes or like 10 minutes of exciting PKs, but to get there you had to watch 90 minutes of dreadfully dull soccer of two teams playing not to lose to get the games to PKs? Or would you rather have that full 90 minutes of a game where this team has to win and it's throw everything in the kitchen sink at the opposition, wide open, they've got to score these goals to win. There's not even the away goal tally or anything. You just got to get more than the other guy. That's way better than watching these fucking bunker fests when teams are just playing to get the game to PKs.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the first to 5 almost makes me like it more. I think the only thing I don't like about this is the actual schedule. So as it stands right now, FCC will play this Saturday, the 29th, at 8 p.m. The game 2 then is the following Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday? I'm going to keep
Saturday, November 4th.
Okay, so the following Saturday, November 4th, and then it will be another Saturday away from there on the 11th, if necessary, at 2 p.m. Surely, we could have put the away game midweek and then the game 3 on 11/4. Like, I don't understand.
So the play-in teams would play 4 games over like 11 days.
They've done that in the regular season.
It's not ideal. I mean, I agree that this feels super drawn out, especially since there's that international break in between round 1 and the conference semifinals, which means that like let's say we beat Charlotte on November 4th.
Right.
I like the way you phrased that.
We don't play again until the 25th or 26th.
Like after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's like
Jesus.
Literally it becomes 1, 2, 3. It's almost a 3-week break between playoff games.
This is absurd. This is so stupid. Like you can't even say this is more fodder for the idea that the MLS Cup just isn't as meaningful as the Shield, because you're telling me that like this is a representation of who the best team is, who the team is that can navigate this broken ass best of 3 format with a scoring system that's designed to have draws and PKs. Then you're going to wait a couple of weeks to play the next round over an international break and the Thanksgiving holiday in America. And then somehow in mid-December, you'll play an outdoor game somewhere, and that will determine who the fuck the best team is in this league.
Oh, hey, you want to go ahead and pre-panic about something? Gabon has 2 World Cup qualifiers in that international break. Like truly do or die games for the nation of Gabon that will probably want one of their best strikers.
Do we know where those games are?
I think they get 1 at home and 1 at like Mali or something. I don't have it in front of me. But that international break is not like a camp cupcake friendly filled time. That is Argentina and South America World Cup qualifiers. So if not Lucho, but if Barreal is called in, Mosquera and Arias are called in to represent their national team to fight for a chance to go to the World Cup. Like, they are playing playoff games in the middle of the playoffs. And like, it's just absurd that we're doing this.
Gabon plays Burundi,
okay.
On November 20th.
Is it just 1 game or are there 2?
Well, they play Kenya on November 13th.
Okay.
So like, is he even going to be at the November 11th game if it happens?
I mean, if you asked a player, hey, you've already won the regular season title that for most of the rest of the world is it, and now you have to add on this stupid cup competition, or you can represent your country for a chance to go to the World Cup. I think
he's staying here because he's all for Cincy. I saw the tweet.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Sir, the branding we're using in the playoffs is Cincy till the end. So
add your hashtag.
Yeah, thanks.
I hate this MLS Cup playoff. This is so stupid. This best of 3 is stupid. Have we even talked about the fact, is this the first time in history of the league where you will play the same team 3 times in a row? Like, what does that do in terms of tactical scouting? Right. By the time you play a team for the 3rd time in 3 consecutive games, what's the surprise there? It's just, all right.
Square up again.
No, like the tactical report's same as last time.
Be really
same guys
funny.
are playing as last time. Like, fuck, like,
just completely switch it up. We're going WM 1910s tactics. They'll have no idea what they're looking at.
Right.
And if you, after like 3 games in a row, of getting like just kicked by Red Bull, they're gonna look like the guy in the basement in the movie X.
Oh god!
They're gonna look like the guy in the basement in Silence of the Lambs. It's just gonna be put the lotion on the skin. Christ.
Oh god. For what it's worth, Chief, back in the day, MLS used to do best of 3 series. back when the playoffs were slightly smaller. Or
I mean, there's going to be fist fights in these third games. You can only take so much of the same asshole kicking you before you finally want to do something about it.
Could you imagine doing 3 games against Columbus? And then,
oh my God. I don't even want to think about that.
This is why I want Charlotte to win so bad. I think of Red Bull as a rival. This is not a secret. Okay. We have history. And I just don't want to watch 3. You said it's Cope?
Yeah, we know Red Bull is winning this game. I'm going to put the biggest bet I have ever made. I'm saying, I just don't, it's so emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
To even think about, and the same would be true with Columbus. Mm-hmm. Just imagining playing them 3 times in a row. I'm not even going to enjoy it.
No, but I know it's happening. I'm going to place an uncomfortably large wager on the Red Bulls. That's how certain I am that this is happening, because it's the most frustrating possible outcome for this to be. It's like, oh, there's a playoff format where you don't need to win a game to advance. Gee, I wonder which team will exploit that. Could it be the Red Bulls? Yeah.
We were really robbed of this potential outcome, which is the Charlotte and Miami finished the season having to play each other twice to end the season. If only the 2 of them had their seasons play out ever so slightly different, so that they both could have then played each other in a best of 3 series. So you would have played the same team 5 games in a row. It's just been so awful. As a fan of a team, it's be desperate to watch another opponent.
That is going to blow too. It's like, okay, we play the Red Bulls. Who do we have next week? The Red Bulls. And then after that, the Red Bulls again. I'm going to know these guys better than have all these players memorized. I don't want to know who these people are.
I refuse
it already bothers me that I can look at somebody on site and tell you if that's John Tolkien or not.
Yeah. I don't want to know who John Tolkien is. John R.R. Tolkien. I don't want to know who this guy is.
That has to be his nickname, right? There's no other possible nickname for him other than scumbag. Sorry, excuse me.
They're all scumbags. This is true.
Well, looking at the bracket, should we get past our wild card opponent, we will face the winner of the New England Revolution and the Philadelphia Union. Given how the New England Revolution season has gone so far, I would expect that to be Philadelphia. I don't think they'll encounter any trouble with the corpse of what was formerly a pretty good Revolution team. So yeah.
You know how this is going to go if we have to win MLS Cup. We're going to have to face the Red Bulls in round 1.
I think we're going to have to face
you're going to have to face the Union in round 2. You're going to have to face the Crew in round 3, and then the final boss is going to be fucking St. Louis again in the MLS Cup.
You have to beat. I mean, you have to beat good teams
But these are annoying teams, not just good teams. These are annoying teams to beat.
So Philly's annoying to beat because they're good.
They're good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Philly, they have, some of those dirty tricks, right?
They're the least offensive of the group that I named right there.
But they can play.
Yeah.
They got guys in the team that can play. And they will play if they need to.
Columbus can play.
Columbus can play. But I like, and I don't see New England having a chance over Philly in a 3-game series.
Yeah,
given the state of New England, but
famously not a state and rather a region.
Yeah. But I would enjoy whichever matchup that is more than I would enjoy having to play Columbus in the semifinal or having to play Nashville or Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or Orlando.
Yeah, no. Don't want to play them either.
Given that you have to play Eastern Conference playoff teams, if you want to advance in the Eastern Conference playoffs, I like having Orlando, Columbus, Nashville, and Atlanta all in a cluster so that we're guaranteed only have to play one of them.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. Like of all the teams you named there, Philly offends me the least, and I think I'll enjoy watching a Philly Cincinnati game more. In no way would I be looking forward to watching a Nashville Cincinnati game or an Orlando Cincinnati game. Mm-hmm. And then Columbus is just existential dread whenever their name gets brought up. So,
and the latest we have to play them
is the
better.
Yeah.
Yes. This all leads up to St. Louis having to play the San Jose Earthquakes, RSL, and then Vancouver Whitecaps for a chance for MLS Cup
West
final.
Is so bad. God. I hope LAFC dog walks everyone there.
They might. Although Seattle end up getting the 2 seed.
Yeah, but the West is whatever. The good news is we've
Seattle
already
LAFC
beaten
play each other.
Most of these teams, so that's not too bad.
You remember when I was hyping up RSL? I thought they were going to be pretty good. Turns out,
it would be
Houston,
kind of funny
RSL.
though to finish the season against Houston. So the season opener was against Houston. The season closer,
the game that should have been the U.S. Open Cup.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point.
I actually want that. Now that you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
I want the final to be with Houston.
It's a good narrative, to the season. I like it.
And we remember when we started the season and with that 2-1 win, and we were like, ooh, I don't know if this team's as good as we thought. Houston's supposed to be terrible. And they hung around a lot in this game. That would be vindication if we ended up facing them in the Western Conference in MLS Cup.
Open Cup winner versus Supporters Shield winner. That's good.
That's fantastic.
That's a storyline MLS definitely won't hype up and tell because they're really bad at building narrative.
No, it'll be more about how did LAFC lose this?
And will Messi be
Man, we don't even have a punishment for this level. You've entered a circle of hell that had been previously unknown.
I don't like this game anymore.
And for folks who are confused, I know we said it would just be a 30-day moratorium on mentioning a certain player by name. That there's been some mission creep. The March of Dimes is still around. This is just gonna happen.
We just hang
forever, probably.
Can we hang a mission accomplished banner or something like that?
Oh man.
So anyway, any ideas for tier 3 of Chiefs punishment?
I think you should have to watch the aforementioned players documentary series and give us
a recap for the Post website.
A full recap.
Cool. But it's the writing part that really seems that's the part that seems like punishment.
The real punishment is you have to write one article for the website.
I edited a video. I put a video up. That's got to be... No, fair enough.
In fairness, the SEO on this player's name on our website with a full review could be the most viewed thing we've ever put on the website. So.
Well, yes, the story of MLS Cup would be whether or not he's in attendance.
Yeah,
that would be.
Yes. Yeah. Your overall point was correct, though. Yes, that is what would happen. So that's the playoffs, I think. I mean, we'll figure out who we play. That game happens on Wednesday, so feel free to root for Charlotte, I guess. It feels silly to root for an opponent that we will then play, but
it does not matter.
It's inevitable.
This is the one time when yelling at your TV is going to have no effect on the game.
No. Especially when you're yelling, "Get up! He's not hurt."
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one.
Charlotte. You know what the real problem is? I'm thinking about going full sicko mode and actually going out to New York for this game in the first weekend in November.
I will already be in New York November 4th.
That's 2/3.
Will you be at the match?
I doubt it. Depends on the time.
7:00 is what it says.
Then probably not.
No.
So I'm going in a with a few other couples, and some of them, I'm not going to gender them, are going to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child at the matinee on that day.
Okay.
So some of us, and I'm not going to gender that group either, are going to have a window that's open, but it's early in the day.
I'm told that ditching your significant other in New York to go to a soccer game can be an acceptable outcome in a marriage. You talked about like different parts of your life already being solved. This could be a way to inject some spice into and some uncertainty to the outcome when you tell your significant.
I think we have dinner reservations Saturday night
at Red Bull Arena.
No, at a place that we'll see if we get kicked out if I have my phone on the table.
Ooh.
But it's like I think it's not going to be a short dinner, let's say.
A lot of bathroom breaks.
They're not going to have any TVs there either.
Waiter, could you put the
Red Bull game on? The Red Bulls game on? Do you think?
Sir, that's a pain.
We should put that in our dietary restrictions. I can't eat. I'm like a child. I won't eat until I get a screen in front of me.
Or say that you're bringing a child and he screams uncontrollably unless MLS Soccer is placed in front of him.
Look, I don't know this restaurant, but if they're flirting with Michelin stars, I bet you could convince the waiter to give you an update every time there's a goal scored. That feels like a thing that could happen for you.
Or send the email request that the TV be there from Michelin Review at Michelin.com.
So this is Pete Wells from the New York Times. This is my secret email address. I'm willing to give you another chance.
I'm a diehard Red Bulls fan.
Hi, my name is Grayson. I'm a content creator, and I think it'd be really neat if we could partner to do some content together. I'm not asking for a free meal, but I am asking if you could just bring a TV out so that I can watch a soccer match during the course of my meal.
The exposure would be worth it for you.
I can promise you exposure to a dozen listeners in the greater Cincinnati area, many of whom might someday fly to New York City
for a playoff game. Oh my God. We can get this done, I think, for you.
You know what'd be really funny is I went to this game and then rolled in drunk and crashed.
You gotta bleep that.
I sure do. We are real sloppy tonight, Chief.
What I said.
You might have used an improper name for one of our co-hosts.
That's Grayson.
Sure we both didn't hear it. So.
That's fine.
Check the audio.
Maybe if it's one of those places that like wheels out the cart to make the cocktail next to the table.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe I can get them to put a TV on the cart and just say, look, I'm going to order a lot of cocktails.
Keep them coming. Just keep the cart right here.
Just keep this on.
What is when does a restaurant become too fancy for you to ask them to put the game on somewhere? Like there's a line of demarcation to where that becomes a weird ask. But then it goes back the other way where it is such a nice restaurant that they will bend over backwards to accommodate anything you're asking for. And you can do it. You might just get looks from the other patrons at the restaurant if you ask them to.
I think it'd be a real flex to get the audio of the game over the whole restaurant. It was soft classical and now it's Tommy G.
I'm a big fan. I'm sorry.
Oh, God. Well, there's your playoff preview. I don't know if you got anything out of that.
Yeah, well, we got Wednesday's episode too. We'll come back and we'll talk a little more about it, I think, probably. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Can we talk about the flag stuff now?
Fuck Columbus.
thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy PostCast, which is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com for all of our written content, as well as links to our social media. You can follow us on Twitter, and as well, you can join us on our Discord server. You can find links to that server both in this episode description as well as on our website. That is where most of our conversations are going on. We have a lovely community there talking about FC Cincinnati, MLS, anything and everything else and everything in between. We also want to give a huge thanks to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing all of the music you've heard throughout this episode. They're an amazing local Cincinnati band. Again, more information about them is in the description of this episode. And if you enjoyed what you listened to, and you've made it to the end, so I'm going to assume you liked it, or you just can't reach your stop button, please like us, review us, subscribe to us wherever you are getting your podcasts. That is going to be really, really helpful. But more importantly, share this with a friend. A personal recommendation helps spread a podcast so much further. So please share this if you know somebody in your life who's an FC Cincinnati fan, an MLS fan, somebody that you think would enjoy this. Pass it on over. Thank you so much again for listening. It blows me away that people continue to listen to us. And thank you so much again.